ultra fly talk. But yo, Trent, all I'm saying is, in these different scenarios, like, we gotta get it how we live. AKA, if you only have like $30 a month to be able to go towards a phone bill, yo, you gotta budget your plan down to that situation, opposed to acting like you can keep spending 80, 90, $100 on a phone bill. Just saying, like, if that's where you at in your existence, right?
Pretty much.
Kind of continue where we were just talking from. I know it might sound like I'm talking kind of loudly, like I'm talking kind of loud for a purpose, because obviously I'm driving. So hopefully, Trent, that you can hear me where my phone's positioned. If I have it positioned further away from me, like over to the side, like it might fall and go all around, but there where it's at, I know it's pretty steady. So like I'm just explaining to you and the viewers where, even though it might be a rough episode, we just wanted to make sure we got that out to you guys. We appreciate y'all. So anyone who supports and genuinely listens, we appreciate y'all, yo.
For real.
But yeah, man. How's your day been so far, though, Trent?
I've been up for like 2-3 hours. I'm fine. Like, I ain't done anything other than fight with this friggin' screen recorder.
Okay, bro, that's stuff though. You had like a late morning, a late afternoon start or whatever. That's what's up.
Pretty much.
Late morning, to early afternoon start. It is what it is. That's what's up. Especially when it's one of them ones where if you jump up and eat a dope ass breakfast and shit, you go off and shit, make a whole omelet and just go off. Why not?
That's a little extreme for me. I had a bowl of cereal. That's about it.
I fuck with them. Oh, okay. Well, hey, don't get me wrong. Cause like, I mean, but like on some, every time we talk, like how like I'll let you know, like I'm starting to get more and more back into like the physical stuff, like whether it's like my different types of like training or whatever, boxing training, or just physical like fitness training, or the yoga that you were telling me about, or whatever, like doing different yoga and shit. Like, bruh, you gotta be out here if you're trying to keep your body and your mind right. But then that also goes into like eating, like, bro, that's why I be doing the whole omelets with the green peppers, red onions, different things like that chopped up inside. Bro, like I'm gonna when I get to Hamilton eventually, I'm gonna mess around and grab the ingredients to like ginger, kale, green apples, kiwi, like different things like that to blend up into a smoothie to fight any type of infection that tries to get at me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we have to be doing these types of things, bro.
I agree.
Or I might just mess around and stop at a Fortino's or some shit, because sometimes that type of shit, bro, like sometimes they already have that like certain supermarkets have that type of shit already prepared. So you can technically just buy it, shake it up like a fucking smoothie drink or whatever, and then just get it like that. You don't technically have to buy the separate ingredients like I was going to. Mm-hmm. But it all depends on how you feel. Are you into that type of stuff? Are you potentially into that type of stuff? Like the like different types of like blended smoothies to like, quote unquote for the health, or is it more just like you might have them separately if ever you prepare them or cook them or whatever?
I never do smoothies. I don't have a blender or anything like that. All I do is just eat them. That's it. I just throw them down the gullet.
Oh, hey, bro, hey. Hey, it makes sense though. My man said throw it down the gullet. Totally makes sense. But on another note, like, one thing I wanted to ask you about was like, do you think that there's like there's a difference between losses and lessons? Or do you believe that like they're all kind of just blend together? Like, nah, man, every loss is a lesson, blah, blah, blah. Like going into that type of like mentality. Like, where do you stand on that? Or do you even think about that type of stuff at all?
So I didn't until you just brought it up a few minutes ago, and it got me thinking, because it's kind of, so I can see both ways with it. I can see how people look at it and just see like everything is a lesson sort of thing. But I don't know, man, loss is a big concept. Like if we're talking about like material loss and all that, that's one thing. But if we're talking about like losing like a person or something like that, then that's a completely different story right there. Yeah, not every loss has a lesson. Sometimes you do your best and you still lose, no matter, like, you do everything you can, you still lose. And not every lesson comes from a loss. So I can see how people conflate the two or try to conflate the two, but I don't know. I don't see them really as the same thing all the time.
Okay, so there's certain cases where you differentiate the two.
Exactly.
Okay, well, hey, bro, that's a dope stance to have. I kind of like it's more. It's actually kind of like a fair stance to have, like because most people like, and it's not even like when I was saying it earlier. It's not that I was trying to be mocking them with the voice I use, but it's more of saying blah 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 or whatever. It's more of just expressing that you hear that a lot, and it does. There is value within that statement. But at the same time, it's like there's a difference. Not even to be like, no, man, like to be defiant or act like there's an absolute answer. It's more that I just feel like there's a difference because you're gonna be faced with different things, like you just said, like different types of losses. To equate everything to be a lesson, sometimes unfortunately it's just that, a loss. Like you lost a situation. There's no getting it back. You can learn and be like, oh, I learned to be stronger, or I learned to, of course I feel like you can always make a reason to say that you've learned a lesson, but on the flip side, sometimes unfortunately it's just meant to be a loss. It's not to be something deeper, because you must experience grief, and if one wants to say that's the lesson, you're experiencing grief. It's like grief might be an emotion that doesn't necessarily have to be attached to a lesson. So that's why it's like I feel like there is a reason to differentiate the two, if that makes sense.
And I think running away, like you
And
just
I know,
said there,
yeah, continue. Sorry.
like you just said there, grief is emotion. I think taking away like any sting on that is just running away from that emotion, basically, and like trying to shield yourself from feeling that emotion. Basically, it's just trying to spin it. That's all I see it as.
See, and that's the thing too. We can't be afraid or running away from these types of things, whether it's emotions, whether it's different types of ways to cope with them, whether it's different types of. It's so necessary in this time of life. We cannot be shying away from it, especially as men. I don't care what no one says. Like I'm not here to force any ideals on anyone, Trent. All I'm saying is genuinely how I'm, because I feel like if you're put in a position to win, if you're put in a position to win, Trent, because you're willing or some, I don't even know the word, like you're basically willing to be given new information and learn new information and not be afraid to expand your mind. Like you having that type of mentality, in my opinion, allows you to grow into someone who's more advanced or more prepared in this life versus someone who shuns the idea of X, Y, and Z simply because someone else told them to, opposed to learning new information.
I agree.
So grief, emotions, all these different things, bro, these are things that I feel like we're supposed to experience. What do you think about that type of stuff?
I agree completely. Like completely with everything you say there. I have no other way to put it. You put it perfectly right there. Yeah, like basically we have to experience these things, and to deny ourselves experiencing these things is deny ourselves human experience. And to deny the human experience is deny being human.
I don't know, man, and that's the thing too. It's like every time there's a every time there's a challenge we have to face, it's like in a context, it is kind of like a make or break your situation. That's why I kind of asked that earlier question of like, what do you think about the difference between a loss and a lesson? Or if you face different challenges and different obstacles, bro, like it helps you develop different types of characteristics. It helps you, in my opinion, develop who you are. Yes, you can say, oh, someone might be the type of person to ask their parents to handle certain things that they can't handle without truly understanding, like, bro or sis, it's your experience only to live. Yes, you can ask for assistance, but truly no one can do things for you. Like, you have to go through these challenges, these trials, these tribulations. Or, don't get me wrong, granted, your parents set you up for a life to have comfort and things like that, where you're not facing certain things. Hey, good on them. But for the people who have to face certain challenges, you're going to develop so many more characteristics to be able to, in my opinion, like approach this life. We're quote unquote young people, Trent. We're 28, heading on 29 type shit. But yeah, that doesn't mean that we have it all figured out. But we have enough figured out where we should be able to say, all right, if I fuck around and I'm faced with X, Y, and Z challenges, I can solve it or at least try to find a way. I might fail a couple of times, but we can at least try to find a way to solve it based on the experience we now have. But some other people who are 28, Trent, they might, and it's not that it's a problem or anything like that. They might be in a situation where they're like, yo, I got my parents handling every single thing for me, or I got my parents going above and beyond to stress themselves, doing things for something, like doing things for me that unfortunately I should be doing for myself. Not a knock, it's not a judgment. It's more about an observation. But actually, yeah, forgive me. I'm not trying to rant trend. Forgive me. Let me ask you this. What do you think about the concept of different people reaching maturity at different times, despite being at the same age or older, etc.? What do you think about that?
Such a hard thing to like speak on too, especially because like I see your point of view with that, but when it comes down to it, this life isn't a race. And this life isn't a competition. That's how I look at things anyways. Everyone goes at their own pace and some people get it way earlier.
Forgive me. I don't want to interrupt you, Trek. Please forgive me. I'm not trying to interrupt, but it's not that I was making a stance on it. It's just that an observation, remember. But continue, please. It's just an observation, not a stance.
I think people like some people get at it earlier because they have better advantages, or they just matured earlier and they just decided, hey, I want to do this, and got at it earlier because they had that mindset. And there's other people who have had to arrive at that mindset like later in life, like me, who still has a lot of like growing up to do in terms of like maturity and whatnot. I'm not perfect by any means to say that, but like but yeah, I don't know, man. It's different. It's different, especially with like this culture. It's a whole different thing, especially like the whole like living at home or stuff like that. Like in other parts of the world, like you live with your family, like your extended family, until they all die, basically, and then you basically become like, like you live with your grandparents until the end.
Like that, right?
So it's just different.
100%. No, that's the beauty of it. I was just about to say, you're 100% right. Like it's like Italy, where they stay with their family for a really long time. Or even like, not even just Italy, not trying to single them out, but I'm saying even like places like India, though, on the flip side, where like you might be like, the kid might be like 14, bro, and they're married or whatever, 13, 14, and they're married or whatever. I'm just saying, forgive me, it might not be just in the context of India, it might be a lot of places. I'm just simply saying you're 100% right. That maturity is everywhere else, and don't get me wrong, that's why I was saying it's not a stance I'm taking, it's more of an observation to say, yo, man, to think, like, oh, shit, I gotta come over here. Yo, man, it's just to think, like, you be put in these situations where, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain other than just, I guess that's why, like, in certain communities, yeah, like, you're faced to grow up a little earlier than other communities. It's not that it's a problem, it's more that it's, like, just what it is, just cultural differences, right?
That and
some cases, it's not about saying just that. I'm not saying it's an absolute, right? It's not, it's just in some cases.
That, and like you were saying, like it's just how you grew up. Like it all depends, like where you grew up, like what values were pushed on you, what values you inherited from not only your parents, but then like going to school and all that, and then the environment that surrounds that. There's a lot of different factors to all of it, but there's still a lot of people my age, they're still living at home and they're still like just slumming it around doing whatever they want. But then I know some other people who are living at home trying to like save up money just so they could, eventually buy their own place sometime down the line, if that happens for them, sort of thing. But then there's people like me who are just
extremely smart.
And then there's people like me who's breaking their fucking bank account just so he can have a place of his own. But like, I'd rather have a place of my own. That's just how I am. So it really comes down to like, not only how you're raised, but just how you feel, like what you need to do. If you need to live at home for a period of time to do it, like you do it. If you need to stay living at home because like that's all you got, like I don't know, I can't fault you for that really, because being homeless really sucks.
No, 100%. It's not about judgment, because again, we all reach maturity at different levels. It's more, in my opinion, it's more about understanding. Like I was trying to say before, like, like. It's not about, that's why I wasn't like trying to make it a stance. It's more just an observation, because like it's weird. Did you see, like, even like back when you're 24, 25, you see some people like they just straight up, just right even out of high school, just stay with their parents, whatever, save up their money, whatever, but they're still there. Other people, they're flat out married, have 2, 3, 4 kids at that time. Other people that, like you're saying, like they might be feeling like, oh, I'm breaking the bank just to have my own place. That's why and the list goes on and on with the difference of, but that's why I asked, like, I wasn't trying to, and forgive me to the listeners, forgive me if you ever feel like, yo, man, grab me rent, it's not about a rant. It's just sometimes you have these trains of thought that unfortunately you just want to make sure you get it all out so that you don't forget them. And then you obviously allow the other person to have their time to speak so that when they can get their whole train of thought out. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm just trying to say, like, it's good that you have that take on the difference of maturity levels as well, because realistically, people go above and beyond to like to do the most at least sometimes the appearance. They go above and beyond to like show you like their maturity levels, and like you have to look at them like, yo, is this person really the same age as me or whatever? But on another note, like I want to ask you because like about Mr. Rogers and what do you think about Mr. Rogers and his like philosophies, or do you have any thoughts on that, or do you know who Mr. Rogers is?
I think Mr. Rogers is a fucking saint. I used to be a Christian. I don't believe in all that like sainthood anymore, but I think he is a saint, like a true saint that walked this earth. And we all need to live by his rules and by his philosophy of just being kind and just being like a decent person. That's all it is. And if the fact that he like influenced so many generations of kids with that show is just, we can't take that for granted. And the fact that unfortunately he's not around anymore, like I really wish, like, fuck, I think if we had someone like him or something like him from like the early 90s on to like, especially in the early 2000s, man, we would have seen a whole different generation of kids just from like values wise, like we were saying, just how you were raised and the things you were around, but especially just that being fucking kind to each other, man. Like, god damn, it's such a simple concept, but he just hammers it in so well, but it never feels like you're being hammered in with it, because he's just like, it's just being kind. Like I said, that's all I can keep coming back to.
What he was doing seemed genuine too, right? So that's, in my opinion, that also can help with people gravitating towards somebody when you feel like it's coming from a genuine relationship. And don't get me wrong, even with the whole Christian thing, like me personally, I'm not gonna lie, like I am Christian, but in the context of Christian, it's not about saying I am something as a label. I'm saying I follow to be Christ-like, meaning granted Christ was a real situation, a real spirit. If you believe that, if you choose to believe that or have that faith, exactly. I'm looking at it from the standpoint of exactly what you're saying, trying to be kind, Christ-like, not Christian to the sense of saying one is better than someone else because they live a lifestyle, or that doesn't mean that one agrees with shit like that happened, like the Crusades or whatever, killing people because they weren't thinking the same ideology or whatever. That obviously wasn't, and saying that it was from a sense of God told us to do this, and then you saw later in history that God cursed those same people because he knew damn well that he didn't say to do that. But I'm just saying, yo, but beyond all that talk about religion or Christianity or anything like that, I'm talking about the sense of being faithful or living to be better, being kind, in the sense of the Mr. Rogers type Christian, where it's like, it's not about the label, it's about being the most kind or genuine person possible, being the most decent person possible for earth around you. All these things, in my opinion, matter. And I think that's why a lot of kids, when they watch this show, genuinely had a respect for it, in my opinion. It wasn't about the label of quote-unquote Christian, it was more about, yo, if I'm going to live better, or if I'm going to be this type of person to be the change that I want to see type shit, yo, I can't afford to be out here be doing manipulative things, like manipulative things or whatever, harmful things to other people. I should be assisting or uplifting other people. You know what I mean? But that's why I ask, and I'm glad that you had that approach on at least perception on his character that we've seen of Mr. Rogers.
It was
right.
It was completely genuine too, man.
Yeah.
Like that was who he was. Like there's one story I'll always remember, that he got a letter from a blind girl saying like she was worried about the one fish, if he was being fed or not, because he would feed him every show, but wouldn't like, it would just be a visual thing, right? She didn't know. So from that point on, he always said like, oh, I'm going over to feed the fish and blah, 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 like just for that one person. So that's Mr. Rogers.
To make sure that it was known that
exactly.
He was going to do that, and that's how much he cared. Bro, that shit is so legit, man. I rate Mr. Rogers very high on the human scale. Don't get me wrong. Some people might be looking at it like, fuck all that color shit. Oh, he's a white man. Oh, he's a... Bro, he invited Officer Clemens on that motherfucker, bro, and was trying to diffuse and defeat racial inequality and different hatred and shit like that, bro. Mr. Rogers was so legit, man. But I say all that to say, like, that's what the fuck is up. Like, welcome to my neighborhood, bitch. You know what I mean? Like, without being a jerk about it, but I'm saying, welcome to my neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, I'm gonna be Mr. Rogers on you bitches. Just wait. And not in the sense of no cop, like, oh, he's trying to be Mr. Rogers. I'm talking about in the sense of genuinely assisting motherfuckers. Just wait till I get to the point of trying. If we ever get to the point of we have so much resources that we've reached our number, but we have all types of extra, you know how much help and shit I'm gonna be doing with that extra money? Bro,
Fuck yeah.
like, no. Just wait. I'm gonna be Graham Wayne in this bitch, bro, like Bruce Wayne and shit. Like, so I'm gonna be like the Dark Knight and shit, but I'm just helping
dressing up and shit at night and whatnot.
Oh, I live in Gotham City. You don't know that? I live in fucking Gotham City.
Oh man, that's great. I love it.
No, but since I moved to Toronto, it's been a different type of world where like I genuinely feel like I've heard. I'm not even saying I know oh shit. I'm saying it like sometimes you hear gunshots or whatever. It's not no firecracker because it's the middle of the winter and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason for you to be launching firecrackers in the sky. You feel me?
Oh yeah.
I say all that to say it's dangerous as fuck, bro. That's what I mean when I'm joking. I'm saying like we live in Gotham. Every episode of Batman is whooping ass. So that's why you have to assume like, oh shit, Gotham City's fucked up. But that's why I'm joking when I say like, oh, I live in Gotham City. Nah, man, it's like there's obviously dope ass, beautiful ass parts as well. But I don't know, man. I'm just simply saying like, yeah, like you gotta be safe. You gotta be safe and stay dangerous at the same time, bro. You know, bro. Like you gotta protect yourself, but you gotta be aware like nonsense can happen.
Before they say for every like professional fight, keep your hands up and protect yourself at all times. And I think that's a life lesson right there. Just protect yourself at all times.
100%. Bro, even though it's a little bit late, bro. I know you start Conor McGregor to get humble. And not humble in the sense like, because he led into the fight being humble. And that was beautiful on Conor. That's why I was like, that's what's up. Stepping to my man's hot sauce. All that shit. I don't know if it was a meme or not. They said that Conor left a review and shit on the hot sauce. Bro, I was crying.
See, I don't.
It's a little bit late to be reporting on that, but
See, I've not been into like as deep as the fight games I used to be. These days I'm mostly just watching pro wrestling, and especially when it has anything to do with Conor McGregor, I'm just like, okay, whatever. But after I didn't even watch the fight. I just watched the result. I saw the results in the morning. I was like, okay, so now I have to watch this just for that fact. But I would have watched it anyways, regardless of the outcome, just to see what happened. But yeah, it's not. I don't know. It's just not what I want to watch these days. It's so hit or miss when it comes to like entertainment value.
I feel like they're just wrestling more or less has like more as far as like even though like because like that's what it's for, though, right? Like the theatrics of it, right? Like
Bingo.
The whole experience. That's what wrestling's for, correct?
Correct.
And obviously, to show like on some brute like MMA is on some brute strength, just whoever can bash whoever's head in kind of thing. Fast. It's a beauty and an art to obviously that as well, right? Like
there is, but when it comes to like MMA and like combat sports, there's not a guarantee it's going to be an entertaining like night of fights. It could just be fucking boring where they're just grabbing and clinching each other for all night. I've seen cards like that, and it's very, very frustrating even as a fan to watch that. But when it comes to like pro wrestling or anything like that, it's guaranteed to be entertaining because that is in the nature of it. It's a show. Like that's all it is. It's like theater without the fourth wall.
This guy driving with me, he's in a BMW. This guy's on some whole ass shit where he's like trying to like swerve and do all the nonsense. People watching, driving to just checking on my parents to see my parents and my sisters and shit. About an hour away from where I live. And his whole ass motherfuckers want to try to speed, fly around, and this, that, and the third. Everyone's going speed that they go inside the snitch on myself. And this guy wants to fly higher than them speed. Fucking leave traffic. That's how accidentes happen, bro. We don't need that shit. You know what I mean?
People are fucking mental out here, man. It's insane.
But no, man, I'm saying all that to say, like, is that now, is that you approach the back of somebody else's car at extremely high speed and they step on their brakes. It's like you have to slam on your shit too.
Mm-hmm.
People behind you don't understand that that's not little, but like younger, But I'm saying all that. But I'm saying all that to say, bro. I hope the connection's all right. Yo, I'm just saying all that to say it's like, yo, we out here tripping and driving and grinding and shit. But yo, to the people watching, I just want to simply say this: one, please do your best to love life. I understand it might not be peaches and roses and shit right now, but if you're alive, breathing, you're not on some type of assisted machine in a hospital bed, bro. Please understand, you at least are you have the capability to make a situation a little bit better. It's genuinely all love from me. I really hope, and I really hope that y'all know that we should be grateful, and we're very blessed in that regard to be like able-bodied and not in a like, bro. There's a lot of life could be worse, and it's going pretty smooth for a good amount. So I'm just saying, like, yo, do your best to like do your best, man. Like, it's not about saying telling people how to feel. It's more about saying, yo, please understand we're blessed. I know it might not be peaches and roses again, but just do your best to know that we're still blessed. Trent, is there anything you want to say, bro? Like, please give on a soliloquy, on a monologue.
The only thing I want to add to that is just the Boy Scout thing. Just leave this place a little better than the place. Like, just leave this place a little better than how you found it. That's it.
Straight up. All right. Well, shit. With that being said, we're gonna close out. It's been another episode. Me and my dog. Yo, I'm Graham.
I'm Trent.
The leg's crazy. But yo, it's been another episode. Ultra Fly Talk.